Hi there, and welcome to the second video that details the use of the test system for the University of Amsterdam tender. This second video is the PhD student view. By way of a reminder, it's recommended that the overview video is watched before this one, then subsequently watch the supervisor and administrator video before using the test system. The reason why we're recommending this is because then you will actually, as a student, get a very good background into how the system is used overall and what the supervisor and administrator can see, and that will actually inform you how to best use the test system. As a reminder as well, we've set up 3 university admin roles for this test system. So there's PhD student, so you'll be one of Stu 1 to Stu 6, supervisors from Supervisor 1 to Supervisor 6, and administrators Admin 1 to Admin 6. The other reminder, which we covered in the overview video, is that we're utilising the University of Greenwich's configuration. So the University of Greenwich were very happy for us to actually create the configuration for the University of Amsterdam on their staging hosted area. And so we're using that, and that actually shows you how the University of Greenwich meet their student training plan needs. And the way they do that is that they will ask the student to do a development needs analysis, which you'll actually see within the test system. And that development needs analysis will then actually help the student find and book courses that relate to the skills that they want to develop. On top of that, once they've done the development needs analysis, they will then have a meeting with the supervisor or the supervisory team, and they'll go through basically the findings of the development needs analysis based on that particular skills framework that's been analysed against. And then there'll be a discussion about what does need to be developed, what the ideal courses are, etc., etc., and action points made. And at that point, a supervisory record will be filled in, and you'll see that in the test system as well. So that's the University of Greenwich's configuration. We can configure the solution to any particular university need, and we know that there'll be certainly variations with the University of Amsterdam's needs, but for the moment, it's essentially the same way to get to the same outcome, and University of Greenwich's approach. But like I say, we can meet other approaches as well. The other point to note is for the English Dutch language options, the test system you'll see at the moment, due to logistical reasons, doesn't actually have the 2 country flags, so you can toggle between the 2 languages. But once you actually log on to the system, and you'll be logged on if you're actually if you're looking at this video, then you will be able to toggle between the 2 options. We haven't translated all of the site from English to Dutch, because some of it is technically out of scope, and it's quite a significant translation exercise. So, for example, the skills framework hasn't been translated because, for one reason, the University of Amsterdam will probably have its own skills framework. It's just a point to note that we work with our clients in consultation to get the right translations. So there are parts of the system in the Dutch version, when you toggle to that haven't been translated into Dutch, but all of those areas are actually technically out of scope for the tender. But we thought we'd include them so you can see the power of the system. You can see how a course administrator could set a course up. Our user administrator can actually change user settings, etc. So without further ado, let's go to the test system. So here you can see, although, like I said, it's on the University of Greenwich's configuration, we've actually branded the site University of Amsterdam. It's just basically our initial branding. There weren't any guidelines in the tender, so we just decided to brand it in this way, which we think looks pretty good. And here is where you log in. So I'm going to log in as Stu1. And you can see here across the top is the menus. So you've got homepage, student development, supervisory meetings, timeline, and help. Now the homepage here is normally a dashboard, and that will be populated with things that are outstanding that basically the student would need to action, and it could be milestones, it could be forms to sign, that kind of thing. But because we're actually not using that part of the system, then the homepage is essentially blank other than the links out to the two places of interest. If you've, and like I say, we recommend you watch the overview video first. You'll actually see that we're looking at probably less than 1% of the entire SkillsForge system here. The overview video actually covered a significant amount of the end-to-end solution that SkillsForge offers. So if we go to student development, like I said, the process would be to do your development needs analysis first. And to do the development needs analysis, you can see this is a framework. It's quite a popular framework. It's a research and development framework. And this is a framework against which you can actually score your level of skills, as it were, ready for actually getting some recommended training for the skills that, in this case, you're not particularly confident about, but you've got a high priority in terms of developing. So to do the skills assessment, you click on the quadrant, and as you can see here, we've done some scoring already. You can score from the basis of confidence. Usually it's start in the middle here, and then you'd select whether it's low, medium, or high priority in terms of development. Any history of the assessments being done are automatically saved by the system. And also, if you want to know more about, for example, research methods, theoretical knowledge, you can actually see that there's different levels within the skills framework that you can score against. So you may become very highly confident in phase 1, but then when you actually move on to phase 2, you may actually decide that you're not particularly confident and move that down and actually give higher priority to further development of that particular skill. And that will translate into essentially the system knowing that you're wanting to develop that skill and will suggest courses that will help develop that skill, but we'll come on to that in a bit. So anyway, the user would basically score these and save, and you can do it in each quadrant as well. And well, like I say, quadrant, this is for this particular skills framework, we are skills framework agnostic, so we can absorb any particular skills framework within the system. We're just using this because it's not standard across higher education, but it's a well-used skills framework. You can see here, once you've done the development needs assessment, the tools will actually automatically calculate your top 5 skills, and it will also calculate the recommended training. So it will prioritize the recommendations for training based on the the skills that you've actually scored. And if I actually click on supervision, what you can see is we've pre-populated if you say our course catalogue with some events, and this particular event is actually related to that skill that you want to develop that we've just clicked on, which I think from memory was supervision. If you click on that, you can see there's some available dates. If you click on that, you see I've already booked it, so I could cancel that booking if I wanted to. Because I've already booked it, I'm not going to cancel it because I'll show you something else. What you can see here under booking summary is that you're actually booked on that, and as you book on courses, the system will know and automatically track those courses. What it also does, because those courses are booked within SkillsForge, so the attendances can be registered within SkillsForge, it will actually track attendance. So as soon as you've booked and attended a course, it will populate this completed activity log. Also importantly, you can self-record activities as well against particular skills that you've developed. So you may have undertaken an activity outside of SkillsForge that warrants actually being recorded within SkillsForge as part of your training plan. And as a result, you can complete all this, select the areas. I mean, here it's just domains that's part of the skills framework, but this can actually be dissected into skills as well, so they can be selected. And then you'd give detail, upload evidence, and then save. And as a result, it would actually populate the completed activity log. Once it does that, as a result, the completed activity log will start to come alive as well, and actually track the balance of the activity against domains. At the moment, there's no data because there's no completed activities, so therefore there's basically nothing to see. Another point is that we can actually integrate with calendars. So when you book a course within SkillsForge, it'll automatically populate within your calendar. And then also we support online course feedback. Now that's not been configured. We're just showing you it. It's not been configured, but any courses that are booked online within SkillsForge, if configured, we can automatically send the feedback form to the student's email for completion, usually sent just as we anticipate the course finishing. So that's the student development screen, and also the capability to find and book courses. You can see here when I do a full search, we've pre-populated with 4 test courses, and it's no surprise that the 4 test courses cover the four domains. Down the left hand side, you can actually set filters to find courses as well. So once the DNA have been done, as I mentioned, you would move to supervisory meetings. You can see here there's been a number of supervisory meetings that have been completed. And if I record the supervisory meeting, you've got an option to see to actually state where it's happened. So let's say in person, the meeting, and we'll just easily complete this. Now, before I move on, the key thing about this particular form is it can again be configured to individual university needs. So this is a really simple form for completion that we've configured just to keep the test simple. But yeah, I've seen forms that are 2 or 3 pages long. However, having said that, simple is usually pretty good because people do actually complete things that are easier, like the greatest population will actually complete things that are easier rather than harder to complete. As you can see, the history of each form is saved as well. And once you've completed the form, it needs to be signed. Now, we support digitally sign and time and date stamping the form. And what you need to do is actually select all of the participants of that particular supervision meeting. What I'd recommend, because actually it might not be apparent what Supervisor 1, Supervisor 2 and Supervisor 3 is, what I'd recommend is you tick all attendees, and then that will populate all of the supervisors, lead supervisors and supervisors within that team. It will populate their side of the system as well. So I'd recommend you do that when actually setting up the signatures for each form. Then the student signs and then can save. And you can see now we've got a new one here, which is the one we've just completed. Yep, and you can see it's signed there. So that's supervisory meeting, and like I said earlier, within that, that's the supervisory meeting is all about the discussion about the development needs analysis that's been done, and then agreeing. I'll just pull it up again, the form, agreeing what the details of the discussion were, and then the details of the planned and recommended training. And again, like I said, simple, but I think adequate for the purposes of this test within the tender. Then we've kept the timeline in, but as you can see, it requires configuration. Now, what you'd normally see here per student is essentially the timeline of the period that they're with the university, and that would be populated with all the milestones that they've achieved and what are upcoming to be done over the course of that student journey. But we've not configured that because actually we'd need a significantly more of the system configuring for that to be supported, such as progression, the pathways, degree management, that kind of thing. And then finally, there's invariably help and frequently asked questions area within the system. And again, we'd actually populate that relevant to individual customer universities. But again, we've not done that because it's essentially just a test system. So that's essentially the PhD student view of the test system. Hope you found it interesting. Again, I'd recommend you now actually watch the supervisor and the administrator videos just to get a very good, if you'd say, view of exactly how the system operates across those three roles. Okay, thanks very much for listening.